Hi, Steven. Welcome to Indian Express.
Thank you very much.
So, your sixth album is going to be finally out after a little bit of delay. So, what was it like to create this album and produce it in the middle of the pandemic and in this unusual year that we are going through?
Well, it was actually finished long before the pandemic. I mean, the record was finished in January this year, so it was just before everything kind of changed. Obviously, what it has had a massive impact on is the whole aspect of releasing and promoting it. Except the one thing I can do is obviously make videos and, you know, talk to you guys online like this. So it's been very strange, slightly surreal. It feels slightly disconnected in a way to be promoting a record like this. And of course, on top of that, it's a very strange time to be releasing a record anyway. And it's funny because a lot of the themes on the record are quite relevant. You know, they're quite topical. But I'm not sure if people really want to hear that in music right now. They're probably hearing so much of it in the news. It's been, you know, the 2 or 3 years since I started writing this record 3 years ago. The whole world has changed almost beyond recognition. The music industry completely changed, you know. So it's kind of surreal in a way.
So, Steven, from To The Bone in 2017 to The Future Bites in 2020, how much has your sound and your music changed during this time?
I mean, I always think that every record I make is quite different to the previous one, and that's been very important to me to maintain that kind of philosophy. So, to never repeat myself. One thing I guess I've come to realize over the years is whatever I do, it still sounds like me. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what kind of musical direction I go in. It still sounds like a Steven Wilson it still sounds like the sort of universe of Steven Wilson. So, which is a great thing. I'm really proud and happy that should be the case. This record feels quite different to me. I think it's quite different. The main thing about this record, I think, that is very different is that it sounds very much of the now. And I say that because I think the previous few records in their own way were all homages or looking back to the past. Future Bites for me feels like it could only exist now. It has a more electronic sound because we live in an electronic world, let's face it. So there's much less guitar on this record. So that was a challenge, changing the kind of vocabulary, the musical vocabulary, to be a more electronic one.
That was what my next question was about to be. How was it, transitioning gradually, of course, towards a more electronic sound from your earlier days when you were mostly guitars and metal and that kind of a sound to a more electronic sound? And how has this transition been?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've always loved electronic music. The very first music I made as a professional musician was with my band No Man, we were an electronic group basically. So Porcupine Tree and the more guitar-orientated sound came later, and that became the most successful thing for me. But at the same time, anyone that's followed my career will know that I've always had this one foot also in the world of electronic music and love electronic music. But this time, I guess it's much more prevalent. I mean, having written and recorded almost everything I've done over the last 20 years or so, using the guitar, when I picked it up, the last few years when I picked up the guitar, I just thought, I don't know what I can say on this instrument that is new for me, that is fresh for me. And I found myself moving towards the instruments that I hadn't used so much, electronic instruments.
Steven, can you tell us a little about the music videos that have been coming out? There's been a lot of talk about the videos and they've been really surreal, and can you tell us about the nature of the videos?
The 2 videos that have come out so far, there's another video coming out in a couple of weeks, which again is different again. The 2 videos that have come out so far have been very different. Obviously, one is an animation for King Ghost, very surreal, very dreamlike, which kind of fits the song. And the other one has been more really focused on the core sort of conceptual heart of Future Bites. And this idea of a kind of dystopian future where consumerism has reached such a level that civilization begins to actually break down. And I find that whole idea fascinating that you know, someone like Jeff Bezos at Amazon could become the most powerful man on the planet. And that, of course, is assuming that you don't think he already is. I think it's true to say, at least I feel, that the most powerful people on the planet right now are not politicians. It used to be politicians, but now it's the people who write algorithms that persuade us to do things online, whether it's buy things, watch things, listen to things, believe things, follow things. These are the people that rule our lives now. So the figure in the Eminent Sleaze video, which is me obviously as an actor, me acting, is playing this kind of role of a Jeff Bezos-like figure sometime in the future when he is literally the last man left on Earth.
Stephen, you've said in a lot of interviews and videos that one of the most beautiful songs you've written is King Ghost. Can you tell us about how it was made and the story behind it?
I think it's the only song on the record that has no guitar on it at all. Because there is guitar, there's guitar on most of the songs. But this song is the one that is almost entirely electronic. It's a song that it just achieved exactly what I heard in my head. And it's funny because very often, I don't know if you write your own songs, but when you have an idea for a song, you have this idea in your head about how it's going to sound. And usually you don't quite get there. You kind of get sort of close, but you never quite get to the point that you imagined in your head, you know, your dream, this magical dream you had. And very, very, very occasionally, very rarely, I do get there to what I imagined. And King Ghost is one of those examples of a song where it came out so perfectly, because obviously every time I write a song, I try to achieve that. And sometimes Mother Nature just gives you a song that just comes out exactly the way you wanted it to. I can't really articulate it any more than that. I'm just so pleased with it. It just feels so beautiful. And I think it seems to be affecting a lot of people in a similar way. And obviously with Jess's video as well, it's double the power.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you about the collaboration with Jesse after Drive Home and Routine and all these amazing videos that have been there. So what was the idea behind this video? I mean, it's obviously quite abstract, but
yeah,
tell us more about it.
Jess shares the same thing that I do, not wanting to repeat what we've done before. And obviously we've made a whole bunch of videos now, which are all quite different. I mean, and I think one of the things that we've done in the past is we've always made these kind of story videos. So there's a strong narrative. And the sad thing is that we live in a world now where most people don't watch a video for more than 30 seconds. It is more about the vibrancy of the color and more about capturing kind of the essence of the song, the feeling of the song, so that people can just watch 30 seconds or a minute and they'll still get something from it.
Stephen, you mentioned the current music scene and how it's changed. So I want to ask you, what do you make of the current music scene in the world? Like, you know, the pop music scene.
It's difficult to talk about this without sounding like a really old man. Listen, I've always thought of myself as someone that is very open and very curious about music. I've never been a musical snob. I've never been particularly interested in generic music, but I have to say that the sound of modern pop leaves me completely cold. It seems so formulaic and so banal and so like it was written by a computer program, which it probably was. There are exceptions, by the way. I'm a big fan of Billie Eilish, for example. I think her records sound amazing. So there are exceptions. But generally speaking, the kind of modern pop that you'll hear on, you know, daytime radio or on TikTok or wherever it is you're listening, is the two problems I have with it is it's become so orientated around the voice that there's no room for musicians anymore. You'll never hear a guitar solo on a modern pop record. You'll never hear any solo, which would be okay if it wasn't for the fact that the vocals are also made to sound so synthetic. And unfortunately, that seems to be what kids want to hear. My kids love that stuff. I mean, they like Billie Eilish too, but in fact, they like Billie Eilish a lot more, which is good, which is a good sign. But they listen to that very synthetic pop music, and they love it.
Stephen, if we can talk about a little bit about Porcupine Tree, because I mean, of course, it's been one of your most successful projects, most loved projects. I mean, we have, as a generation, grown up and evolved listening to Porcupine Tree. So, what about Porcupine Tree is still there in the Steven Wilson solo project? I mean, what part of it has affected this particular sound that you're doing right now?
That's a good question. I think all of my career is a body of work which is continually evolving and changing, and that's partly because of me. I don't see the point of doing anything for too long, and I want to change, do different things. Life's too short, etc., etc. And I guess in a way, the beginning of my solo career was an immediate reaction against the Porcupine Tree sound. I wanted to do something different, Okay. And I think my solo career in some ways has been a reaction against where Porcupine Tree arrived. And I don't want to give you the idea I'm not incredibly proud of that music, because I am incredibly proud of it. But I think if it had gone on any longer doing what it was doing, it would have got very stale very quickly. But I think it's also what I admire most in other artists when they have something successful, and it's very easy for them to simply make more of the same, more of the same, more of the same, more of the same, give the fans what they want, give the fans what they want. It's very easy to do that, but it takes a lot of guts to say, I've done this, it's been successful, now let's do something different. Porcupine Tree was a little bit of a victim of that, in being something I felt I had to stop doing while it was, at a peak in a way, and do something different. But you know what, never say never. I'm sure we'll make another record one day, we'll see.
So I wanted to ask you if you had to choose amongst all of those collaborations, musical collaborations that you've done in your career, if you had to choose, say, 3 favorites, which 3 would those be? I
mean, can I include people like Jess? I mean, the collaboration with Jess, I think, has been a very, very, very special one in my career. Obviously, a very, very artistically rewarding one. I think the combination of her visuals and my music has been a very powerful, very successful. So definitely with Jess. I really enjoyed, about 10 years ago, I made an album with my friend Michael Ackerfeld called Storm Corrosion, and I had so much fun doing that. It's great fun to work with Michael. Well, I'm going to be really lazy and just say the Future Bites I collaborated very closely on with a producer called David Costin. And we had a lot of fun.
So lastly, I think I should ask you what else is coming up as part of Future Bites. What should we look forward to?
There's going to be more videos, which is about the only thing left I can do. Like I said, the other big project I have right now is working on a book. And I'm working on it with somebody else, another collaboration. And it's not going to be an autobiography. It's going to be more a book about my thoughts on music in a much broader sense. What it takes to be a professional musician in the world these days, which is a very fascinating question that continues to change. And then hopefully some touring, if the world will allow it, some touring after that.
Lovely. Looking forward to all of it and more from you. This has been a great conversation. All the best for your album.
Thank you very much.
I hope it breaks all records and surpasses all your previous projects.
I hope so too. I always hope that, but more than that, I just hope that the fans will enjoy it. It's a different kind of record. It'll take some time, but I really hope people will connect with it. Great to speak to you, Pascal. Have a great day, mate.